dislike teams in the NBA. I don't know if they are anymore.
Dude, it's
because Paul George is gone. Does James Harden care? Or is he just like, I get my buckets, I get my money, I live in L.A., I'm good, dog.
Yeah.
Like I feel that way from James Harden.
Like that? I mean, I don't know. I have a hard time hating him last night because former Blazer legend Norman Powell was cooking last night.
Norman Powell was
he's like, hey, y'all forget about when you traded me for a bag of peanuts?
I'm watching this game, and I'm like, of all the players, like I understand the Blazers are going to lose a lot of games this year. They're going to win a handful of them, too, and they got to win last night, and we're gonna do, look, winners get sprinkles on this show. I was sitting there going like, of all the guys, don't let Norman Powell and Derek Jones Jr. Do not let those two guys cook, because Derek Jones Jr. got to Portland and instantly started pouting because he didn't like the role he was given. And it's like, yeah, I want to be a 3-and-D guy. You're not, because you can't shoot threes. I don't want to be known as just a dunker. Weird. He goes to the Clippers. He's back to dunking again. Not really a 3-and-D guy. And then I guess I got nothing against Norman Powell. He was put in a tough situation. It's like, hey, be an undersized 3-guard on a team with a ball-dominant point guard, and best of luck.
Yeah.
So it wasn't really Norman Powell's fault.
No, but you look back,
but because he was put into a bad situation because Neil O'Shea was kind of obsessed with certain players, and he was one of them. But I was just like, of all the guys, don't let Norman Powell cook the He dropped in 30, but the Blazers cooked him at the end.
Yeah,
him at the end.
It's just crazy how time works, Justin, because you look back, and that's one I'm sure Joe Cronin would like to have back. I mean, you traded Norman Powell and Robert Covington for essentially Keon Johnson. So that's one you'd probably.
But isn't that
they dumped a lot of salary?
Isn't that like that was an attempt at an addition by subtraction?
A little.
It's just like that. We're paying Norman Powell way too much money. It was $33 million, something like that.
18, but it was over the course of 5. They just gave him a 5-year deal.
So they gave him
18. Remember, you and I were like, "Oh, the difference between a 4-year deal and a 5-year deal." I remember when they gave it to him, and we're like, "Well, there you go."
Have we been doing this show that long? Goodness gracious.
Yeah, he's got a couple years left on it, but yeah, Justin, we've been doing it since the beginning of Norman Powell's contract.
But. Yeah, I think that was kind of an addition by subtraction.
I would agree. But yeah, it was basically, again, Justin, like.
But Robert Covington.
I don't know where Keon Johnson is now. I think he's probably hooping somewhere. But
I don't know if I've been duped by an NBA player. And I've been duped a lot because I have said multiple times when it comes to the NBA, right? I get there's too many stats. And my mind just starts turning to mush, and I go back to my eyeballs. I don't know if there's an NBA player that duped me more than Robert Covington. Because when the Blazers got Robert Covington from the Rockets, and I'm like, that guy sits there and he shoots corner threes. And I'm like, what do the Blazers need more than anything? Is after Dame drives, they need a guy standing in the corner to shoot corner. So then Robert Covington gets to the Blazers, and he just stopped shooting threes. What the heck's going on? I was so hyped. I thought that was the steal of the steal of the offseason. Like the Blazers. They managed to get Covington away from the Rockets. Dame's going to drive the lane. He's going to lead the league in uncontested corner three. He just stopped shooting threes. Duped me on that one. So then, yeah, Robert Covington goes out. But no, the young Blazers, fun to watch on a Wednesday. Again, Scoot Henderson, 24 minutes. So this is the other thing, and we're going to talk to Sean Highkin coming up in the third hour of the program. I know we upset, and hand up, I am as guilty as anybody. Hand up, I'm as guilty as anybody. I know we obsess on the starter, not starter thing. And by the way, it's not just fans. Players obsess on it too. Players want to be starters because you get introduced in a starting lineup. That is value. That is clout. That, you know what I mean? Like, I know the sixth man of the year is a pretty prestigious honor, but I'll bet you if you went to, who was it? I don't know, Tyler Hero won. Who won sixth man of the year last year?
Oh, that's a great question.
Kind of defeats the purpose of my point if I don't even know who it was, but.
Malik Monk.
All right.
Or no, excuse me, Naz Reid.
So Naz Reid
my bad.
Was sixth man of the year.
Oh, and it was Malcolm Brogdon the year before.
It was Malcolm. But I would bet if you asked Naz Reid and you gave him the sodium pentothal truth serum from 007 and said, would you rather be a middle-of-the-road starter or sixth man of the year? I think most guys would rather be a middle-of-the-road starter. I really do.
I wonder.
People want to be in the starting lineup, and so
I would ask Justin on that, like the two most, to your point on Naz Reid, Malcolm Brogdon, absolutely. I'd like to ask two guys who were career bench buys by trade who won this award, Jamal Crawford and Lou Williams. I'd like to ask their opinion, because Jamal Crawford accepted early in his career, I'm just gonna be a bench guy.
I come off the bench and I get buckets.
Owned it, and same with Sweet Lou. So
and good for him. And those are two good examples. But they give out that sixth man of the year every year, and most of the time, the guy that wins it, if he's in a contract year, he ends up starting for some other team.
Yeah, you're right.
But
totally.
I'm just wondering, would you rather be like Naz Reid? You could be the sixth man of the year on a playoff team, right? Or starter on non-playoff team.
Do we get paid the same?
You paid the same. Would you rather be a starter on a non-playoff
I'd
team?
rather be a starter if paid the same. Yeah.
On a non-playoff team, as opposed to sixth man of the year on a contender.
Non-playoff team for my career, or just a rebuilding phase?
I'm just well. Now we're getting into semantics.
Do I get to make the postseason at some point?
I think you see my point. Is that these guys want to start. Starting is a very big deal, and we talked about it with Scoot Henderson, who because Scoot started last year. He's coming off the bench this year, but I do think the biggest stat is the minutes. Scoot's playing 24 minutes a night, right? And this was a game where it was down to the wire, right? Run by the Clippers, run by the Blazers, got some defensive stops, got some grind, grabbed some rebounds, and he played 24 minutes. So maybe in terms of the whole Scoot development thing, him sitting on the bench, watching the game develop, getting in there, still going to play starters minutes. It's not because I think the worry is not that he would ever check out, but, you come into the league, you are in the Wembanyama draft, but you are a fairly big name. You're replacing Damian Lillard. You were thrust right into the starting lineup, and now I don't know if it's a step back, but it kind of is. Just wonder kind of where he is mentally, but he's playing 24 minutes a night, and the Blazers were fun to watch on a Wednesday night. By the way, Trailblazer coverage here on 620 Rip City Radio, brought to you by Mountain Refreshing Coors Light. Coors Light, choose chill. We got some NFL news and notes. This is the last stand for Aaron Rodgers, and it's by the way, it's Halloween night. Could it get scary for the New York Jets against the Houston Texans, and some other NFL news and notes coming up next? 620 Rip City Radio. All right, coming up later on in the program, we're going to talk some college football. Oregon heads to the Big House on Saturday to take on Michigan. The big game in the Big Ten is Penn State at home against Ohio State. That's a 9 a.m. local kick. And I was talking about this on Rip City Drive yesterday. There's about 12 or 13 games with playoff implications in between Friday night and then the full Saturday slate. And, there's still – because November obviously is tomorrow. Depending on how fast and loose you want to say still alive for the playoff, because there's plenty of teams that are mathematically alive but would need kind of a mathematic miracle to be able to win their conference. But there's still around 20 teams still alive. There's some nightmare scenarios, and we may do that later on in the big show because there's an apparent nightmare scenario in the ACC. There's a nightmare scenario in the Big Ten, which we talked a little bit about yesterday, and there's a nightmare scenario in the Big 12 as well. Speaking of nightmare scenarios, the New York Jets are home after the Yankees choked away Game 5, and boy, did they. We'll talk about Yankees and the disastrous 5-run inning that they had with the World Series and the season on the line and just completely forgot fundamental baseball. I've got some hot takes on fundamental baseball. Oh, boy, am I going to get some baseball fundamental nerd out coming up later on in the big show. But the Jets, they're at MetLife Stadium. They have got the Houston Texans tonight. The Jets favored by 2 in this game. But here's where it gets real interesting in the NFL, and there's a handful of teams I want to talk about because at the beginning of the season, unless you're the Carolina Panthers, at the beginning of the season, I think almost every fan base in week 1 in the NFL can talk themselves into, I think we can make the playoffs this year. I mean, think if we go back, Brendan, to Labor Day weekend before week 1 of the NFL, I don't know if anybody in Carolina thought they were going to make the playoffs, but even I think some of the most delusional Patriots fans were probably like, I think we could sneak into the playoffs. Denver's got a winning record. Chicago's got a winning record, even after the Hail Mary. That's the beauty of the NFL is heading into the season. Almost every fan base can go, we might sneak into the playoffs. Except for Carolina.
Yeah, no, totally. And I think just kind of getting what you're getting at in the bigger sense, Justin, I'm assuming you mentioned that. Are you surprised the Jets are favored in this game?
A smidge, but Houston's been doing some they've been messing around.
So I look at this as the bettors are like, Justin, you think about it. The buck stops. Like, if they lose tonight, Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams, and they might as well just wrap it up.
And so, yeah, that's what I'm getting at.
That's a part of it, I think.
Because I think you look at not just the Jets, but there's a couple of other teams I want to talk about too. But the Jets being one of the biggest ones is that at the beginning of the year, almost every fan base can say, we might make the play. Well, guess what? Week 9, cold. Not only do we fall back, but I think there's going to be some fan bases that are going to have to fall back to reality. See what I did there?
Nice.
You're going to have to fall back to reality and go like, I don't know if we're making the playoffs this year. And I think it starts tonight with the Jets because even though they stink and they fired their coach and I think there's still a thought that, all right, hey, get this win against Houston.
And they could, like, for instance, like Justin, I'm sure you saw.
You go to Arizona. The Colts got Joe Flacco. You got the Seahawks. You get a couple of wins in a row. You don't let Aaron Rodgers get hot. There is, I think, a sense of some Jets fans that are like, if maybe they don't say it out loud, but they're thinking it like, we just get this win, and maybe. Then you get a longer week because you play a Thursday, and then you face the Cardinals. If we can get that win and get our head back above water, maybe. But if you lose this game, you better start looking at college football and start looking at who you want to draft.
Yeah, because I'd be surprised. I mean, the whole reason they're favored in this game, Justin, is obviously tough news for Houston. Stephon Diggs tore his ACL on Monday, so that's another.
Oh, that's not good.
And then Houston's top receiver, Nico Collins, still on IR with a hamstring. So they're like running out a bunch of practice squad guys for CJ Stroud to throw the ball to tonight. Again, Justin and I love CJ Stroud. His numbers have dipped a little bit recently. It's like, as it turns out, when you don't have dudes to throw the ball to, it's a little tougher.
But they're still 6-2,
right,
which is why
still
I
casually 6-2.
which is like where you tip your cap to
Yeah.
CJ Stroud and just
totally.
be like, yeah, his biggest weapon is now gone. And it's like, we're still finding ways to win. They've been ugly, right? They had to grind out a win against the Colts, where the Colts quarterback quit on a play. More on that
Just
in a
gotta
moment.
check myself out real quick. Hey, Justin, I mean,
Unbelievable. I know that
can I ask?
we talked about it a lot yesterday.
Yeah.
We talked about it even on a lot on Tuesday. I don't want to continue into this, but I'm still.
Can I just ask?
I can't believe it happened.
Can I just?
I can't believe it happened that a quarterback in the NFL on 3rd and goal in division said, "I'm tired."
Yeah, I mean,
I can't believe it.
I mean, let me ask you this, Justin. Just because I did not play football. I played plenty of other sports where we had to be in decently good condition. You know, whether that be soccer, tennis, whatever. But I'm just curious, like for you. You would have never done it, but was there even a moment when being tired even entered your brain as a football player where you're like, oh, no, I can't say that. Like, I don't even know if it enters so many players' brains if you like, I don't know. That's
So
a
it's-
real love of the game thing for me right there.
There is, well, not to go all high school glory days.
Hey, we mentioned it in our pre-show meeting. It should be
Not
giving you
all
the
go all
runway
high
you
school
need,
glory
Justin.
days. I think for me, and there was a lot of like, I'd never. There were times I was doctor. You want to know why I never? Because I was so afraid I was never going to get checked back in. I was like, oh, Myers wants out.
Yep.
All right, fine. You ain't never going back in again. So I was like,
Maybe.
if I was out there, no. But obviously I was not as anywhere close to
I know
playing
what
a
you mean.
like I played 3A high school football in Oregon. No big deal. I'm a Far West League champion. Never take that away from me. But I think obviously there are guys in the NFL where you're like, dude, I'm gassed. You're a running back. You're a tight end. You're like, I need a break. Offense is humming right now. Quarterback's different. Anyways, back to the cold dash of reality. So if the Jets win this game, I think they can still convince themselves and as a fan base that, you know what? We might be able to figure a couple of things out. But if you lose this game, what would that? Where are they at right now? They're 2-6. That puts you at 2-7 in a complete 6-game free fall.
You'd have to basically win out, wouldn't you?
That 7th playoff team gets real tricky.
Yeah, you mentioned that yesterday.
Gets real tricky. You wouldn't have to win out, but you would have to fight. You'd be fighting and scratching and clawing just to get to 500. And if, by the way, if you go 2-7, it's like I see it on ESPN with like the Lakers. They're like, well, if the Lakers get it, it's like, well, there's a reason why they're the 8th seed. Do you know what I mean? It's like, oh, it's like me in golf. It's like, you know, if I par out from here, it's like you've had one par all day. What makes you think you're going to par out from here? You know, if I par out from maybe get a birdie, it's like you have more double bogeys than you have. Like you're not parring out
you ever
from
feel
here.
that way on a course?
What's that?
You ever feel that way on a course?
Every
Where
time
you're
I'm
oh,
like,
yeah, if I par out,
I
you're
start.
upset.
But you know, if I par out and it's like I've made one par all day. There's no way I'm par. And it's
Classic.
like Jets fans. Oh, if we win out, it's like you're 2-6, maybe 2-7. What makes you think you're going to win out? So there's that with the Jets and the cold dash of reality. Brendan's favorite team to talk about. Dallas Cowboys are 3-4. They're facing the Atlanta Falcons this weekend.
How about them Cowboys?
That's right. Falcons favored by 2.5 at home. Is this a make or break game for Dallas?
Oh yeah.
Because
Like,
if Dallas wins, you're back to 500.
you are.
If you're 500 in the NFL, you got a shot. Like if you're just hovering around 500, you've got a shot. If they fall to 3-5, and what do they have? And then you face Philadelphia, Houston, and the Commanders.
Ooh.
Yeah, this when you look at the way the Cowboys are sitting, it's not exactly make or break because it's not as dire as the Jets, but if you fall to 3-5 and then you get the Eagles next week and then you get the Texans, now both those games are at home. What a make or break game for the Dallas Cowboys this weekend.
Here's the thing I'm watching with them. This whole losing streak coincides with Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence being on the shelf. We all know who Micah Parsons is. DeMarcus Lawrence, no slouch either on that defensive side. Doesn't look like they're going to play again, Justin. So Micah Parsons, other than your boy, who I firmly believe is the best defensive player in football, is T.J. Watt. Micah Parsons is probably number 2. Like that. He's incredible. I love Micah Parsons.
There is an argument to be made for Myles Garrett, T.J. Watt, Micah Parsons.
Was Hutchinson there before the injury or not quite? For you,
he was getting there.
He was
getting there.
So
but those 3 guys, I think, are the best.
Yeah, I agree.
And then who's Chris Jones?
Oh, yeah,
and Chris Jones is so
good.
good.
The Chiefs do have a really good defense.
He's so good. So you can make an argument week by week. Like TJ Watt was a game wrecker on Monday Night Football.
So good.
When it was getting a little dicey there, but don't apologize for when then TJ comes in and he does. TJ Watt's he's just incredibly good at football. I think his brilliance, and I said brilliance. Boy, he has a flair for the dramatic, and he has he understands the moment. It's like, need a turnover now. Here you go. Bink.
Totally.
Thank you, Derek Jones.
But I just think if they get those guys back, to your point, Justin, sure. But the problem I see for the Cowboys is we've talked about the possibility of 3 teams making it in one division.
Mm-hmm.
Commanders aren't going nowhere. The Eagles have figured some things out now with Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley and company.
Yeah.
Dallas, you're playing for 3rd place in your own division. You're lucky the Giants are terrible, so no worries there. But it's still, even if they're hovering around 500, 3rd team in the division, that's still tough. It's tougher, I should say.
Next team. Is this make or break? Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins right now are 2-5. Now, obviously, that's because Tua was hurt. But the Miami Dolphins are 2-5. They are facing the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo.
Cold or not quite that time of year yet?
Let's see if they usually put the thing up there.
It's 50. I got 50.
54.
Yeah, so that's not bad.
54 is not bad for Buffalo. Yeah, it's not quite frigid Buffalo coming off I think it's the lake. Is it the lake they say? But it is make or break time for if they lose to the Bills, and currently right now Bills 6-point favorites in that game. If Miami loses, do you have to start reevaluating? Now look, coaches and players are always going to try to play. It's the upper management people, which we've seen more and more in the NFL. Back in my day, but it was true. Like back in the day, even if your team stunk, it didn't matter. Fans paid money for tickets. You're a star player. You get out there and play, even if you're not at 100%. We have seen more and more. I think with Justin Jefferson, hey, it's not our season. Shut it down. You know what I mean? We got too much money invested in you. Clearly, it's not our season. You need to shut it down. It's kind of a tank, but not quite a tank. And I think the Broncos did that last year. They shut a couple of guys down with some injuries.
They shut down Russ, obviously, right? Because they said we're not gonna trade you hurt, so you're not gonna get hurt.
And then there was that as well.
The Jared Stidham experiment.
So you have to wonder if the Dolphins come into the season had some pretty high hopes. I thought of getting to the playoffs at least, right?
You couldn't predict.
They're 2-5. They lose this. They're 2-6, and the Bills would be 7-2. You're not winning the division, and now you're fighting for a wild card. I don't know. It might be make or break time for the Miami Dolphins.
So interestingly enough, with that, another one. Totally agree with you, Justin. I think that there's big question needs to be asked here. The national show before us on in the morning, right before you and I had
Two pros and a cup of Joe.
It's true. They
with Brady Quinn and LeVar
sir.
Arrington
Yes,
and
sir.
Jonas Knox.
And they were talking.
I actually like those guys. I listen to them on the way in every once in a while.
Solid group. They were talking. They're like some chatter about Tyreek Hill on the trading block. How does that factor into your decision thought process here, Justin? Because if you're having even those thoughts, you've given up.
I like that the NFL is doing this more and more. It used to be monumental guys getting traded in season. It never happened. As crazy as it sounds, my conspiracy theory brain, I think a lot of it was like, well, we can't have him take the playbook. You know what I mean? I do think that was a big part of it. But now everybody runs the same offense. I've heard multiple NFL players say that. They're like, everybody runs the same offense. It's different terminology, and you just got to learn the terminology. But yeah, we're seeing more and more teams. The Raiders have punted. They traded Devontae Adams, right? They have punted on the season. It's over for the Raiders. Like they're not coming back. Yeah, if the Dolphins lose, because the Rams look like they were ready to punt, and they're like, whoa, Cooper's back.
We'll keep you.
Got a nice win. Maybe we keep this thing rolling. And
it's a tricky spot.
I wonder if the Dolphins win this game. No, you don't put Tyreek Hill in the. But if you lose and you fall to 2-6, and you lose in the division, and you're looking up at Buffalo just running away with the division because the Jets and the Patriots stink, might be time to start maybe trading away guys.
When do questions start to come about Mike McDaniel? This being the third season for him already, right? I like Mike McDaniel. Been to the playoffs 2 times. But
I think the fact that Mike McDaniel has gotten Tua Tagovailoa to the playoffs multiple times with the injury problems that he has had, I think he's fine.
I agree.
And I think most people like him. I think the fan base likes him. It's just when your quarterback goes down the way that Tua did, I don't know if any coach can be asked to salvage a season. Seattle Seahawks are at home against the Rams.
This is a huge game.
It's crazy to say make or break at 4-4.
Enormous.
But you look at the way the Seahawks have been playing. They've lost 4 of their last 5, and they ain't that great of losses, if you know what I mean. Like, they gave up 42 against the Lions. They lost at home to the Giants. The 49ers took care of business at Lumen Field, and that was a beat-up 49er team. And they had no chance against the Bills. I think there was a point when the Seahawks were 3-1. Fans were like, might win the division. You never know. Look at the 49ers' health. And how important is this? Is it make or break time for the Seahawks? I don't think it's there yet, but I think if you look ahead, that game, if you lose to the Rams and then you go to San Francisco in 2 weeks because you get a bye, there's your make or break. There's your Waterloo. There is your little history lesson there. Got that on Jeopardy last night.
Nice.
There's your windmill and Back to the Future 3.
Yeah,
is what I love to reference.
I'm not going to say it's a make or break, but it's very important because I think both teams being 3 and 4 wins respectively. Rams have been playing better. Seahawks not so much, but they could circle the wagons. Big problem I see for the Seahawks in this game, Justin. We talked about earlier in the week. Geno Smith has been thrown at the other team quite a bit.
Yeah, he needs to stop doing that.
And also another game, like DK Metcalf still got that MCL sprain. If he's not back, the Rams have all their weapons now, Justin. They got Puka, they got Cooper, they got, the Stafford's healthy. The Rams kind of, you squint and you're like, is that the team that went to the Super Bowl a couple years ago?
All right,
Aaron Donald?
Real quick, not in the same in the same vein, but close. Because I don't think they're going to lose. Bengals 7-point favorites against the Raiders at home. If they drop this game, I don't think they will. I think they're going to win. But if they drop this game, and you're Cincinnati and you fall to 3-6,
0-5 at home.
And you go 0-5 at home. There's there's going to be some reevaluating going on as we, like I said, as we fall back on Saturday, which I hate fall back. Oh, I get an extra hour of sleep. Great. It's dark at 2 o'clock. It's just dark at 2 o'clock. But as we fall back, there's some teams and their fan bases that might have to fall back to reality because I think we're going to learn some things coming up this weekend for a handful of teams. All right. I learned something interesting. And is there more shenanigans afoot in college football as we go on campus next? 620 Rip City Radio. This week I have said a handful of times, I was wrong about that college football playoff. I did. I had a worry, and I still have a worry about the college football playoff. My worry was if you overload the playoff, do you lose the specialness that is what makes college football great in the regular season? Well, I was there at Ohio State, Oregon. That game was not ruined with the fact that both teams may potentially play each other again, or maybe even a third time if they meet in the playoff. My other worry has always been, though, because you can see some nightmare scenarios starting to creep up, and there may be some, as they say in the NCAA tournament of basketball, right? There's bid stealers and teams that are on the bubble. And what happens? What happens if there's an upset in the ACC or the Big 12 championship game? Now, there probably won't be, because I would imagine it's going to be Miami and Clemson playing each other in the Big 12 championship game, or excuse me, the ACC championship game. But what happens if Pitt sneaks in there? What happens if, by the way, SMU's undefeated in ACC play. Now, they've lost non-conference, but SMU, there's some nightmare scenarios of some bid stealers out there, and you're going to see a really good team that is going to be left out. We saw that when it was a 14 playoff. We certainly saw that when it was the BCS. And so what is our fix to that other than, you know what? Tough, be better, be one of the top-tier teams in college football? No, our fix to that is, well, let's add more teams to the playoff. And so my fear has always been 2 wasn't good enough. I agree. 4 wasn't good enough. I agree. Is 12 going to be good enough? Or is there going to be some teams that are going to be left out who had an incredible season, but they don't get to play for the national title? And we're going to, we need to make it 16. And guess what? When you make it 16, hey, we got to make it 20. And if you get to 20, we got to make it 24. It's just, that's my big worry. I'll worry about that another day.
You think it'll be 64 one day? Like March Madness?
Please, no.
Just,
Please.
64, dude. Actually, 68.
My worry is that they do decide to go to 32. That's my worry, is that they decide to go to 32.
Make it the Duke's Mayo first round bowl.
It's what it's good. I mean, we laugh, but it's what it will be. The Meineke Car Care first round.
I agree. You're not wrong.
So that's talk for another day. But there's another big change in college football, and I was like, keep an eye on that. I want to talk about it right now, but we need music first. Let's go. On campus. Here we go. All right, so last year when Michigan was cheating their way to the national title game with Connor Stallions having foot soldiers at other games, including games at Autzen Stadium for a potential matchup with Oregon, Washington would take care of that. But recording signs, in-person scouting, by the way, something that I believe should be allowed, but it's an old antiquated rule because certain teams didn't have the budget to provide advanced in-person scouting. It seems silly now with the amount of budgets in college football. That's neither here nor there. So the fix in college football was what? Oh, we're going to get the, just like the NFL, right? It's the fix for everything. Let's just make it like the NFL. Let's get the in-ear, in-helmet communications. And some teams have embraced it. Some teams I've heard have almost abandoned it because they like the way the signals worked. But I remember when that first came out, and people were like, "Hey, just give them the in-helmet communication." I'm like, "Do you know how the NFL does it?" I know this because I cover an NFL team. The in-helmet communication encrypted frequency is held by NFL officials up until, I think, 10 minutes to kickoff. And then coaches are handed a walkie-talkie because it has to be encrypted. And I'm like, that's 32 NFL teams. Now we're going to 100 and some college football teams with different budgets, with different stadiums, with different communication systems. How is this going to, well, as it turns out, Justin was right about another thing, and I hate to go third person on you, especially at 6:50.
Feeling good about yourself this morning.
6:50. Well, when I'm right about something, and everybody called me a panicky conspiracy theorist, I said, The NFL does it because they have 32 teams. This is 100 and some teams all trying to do communication. There's no way. Turns out, according to sources, ESPN has learned that coach-to-player in-game communications during Power 4 college football games this season have been occurring on unencrypted frequencies, which I believe means that if you somehow, some way find the frequency they are on, if you had a ham radio out in the parking lot, you could hear the signals. Because they're not on the same budget as the NFL, and they're not in the same technology of the NFL. Texas Tech athletic director said he raised the issue during a call with Big 12 athletic directors earlier this week after learning the Red Raiders helmet communications were unencrypted and accessible to anyone with a scanner and knowledge of how to locate frequencies. If you watch the Connor Stallions documentary on Netflix, and a lot of it was kind of sad and pathetic, but if you watched it, you go like, you learn these coaches will leave no leaf unturned to be able to gain a smidge of advantage. You think these guys aren't messing around with the in-helmet communications? You think there's not some nerd in the engineering department that they're like, hey, nerd, come here. They probably don't call him that, but come here. Do you know how to figure out frequencies? Well, of course I do. That's my nerd voice. They're on unencrypted devices. Brendan, you and I, with a smidge of knowledge and a bit of technology, could be sitting outside of Autzen and Reeser and could have all the communication from coach to player.
Well, my team needs all the help they can get, so maybe my team should
you jump on and be like, don't call that play, coach.
Yeah, I mean,
hey, Gunderson, nope, not going to work. Run the ball, kid.
Yeah, we're starting to get – I'm not saying me, Justin. I'm not saying me, but we're starting to get to the point where there's a lot of fans who think they could be coaches. So maybe it should be like hey, be a coach for a quarter.
That's my favorite.
Yeah.
That's my favorite.
I mean, I'm just saying.
Oh, these guys are getting out coached. It's like, do you know what went into the week and everything? No.
And I say it always, it's like it's easy to – point, Justin. It's like I say not to you, but just in general. Do you think you could coach better?
Not
right?
One bit.
So it's like, and that's what I always say to fans. Like, it may look easy. It's not Madden out there.
I mean, it's not to say that everybody gets a free pass, right?
No,
There's
totally.
responsibilities that come with a paycheck. You get paid a lot of money. That money needs to show results, and as a paying customer, both emotionally and financially, I get to voice my opinion. That being said, I've never once. Oh, that's one of my. We're getting out coached. In what way? Sometimes the other guys have a pretty good game plan, and sometimes the other guys might have your signals because they're on unencrypted devices.
That's bad.
How long before we hear of? There's got to be a team right now doing it. I have no evidence of it, but if you were to go as far as Michigan went, and again. If you listen to Connor Stallions, he was like, yeah, I'm not the only guy that was out there in charge of stealing signals. I remember when Oregon first put up the big sail shades against Arizona State, and I was like, that is such a joke. What do they do? Everybody does it now. Every team does. You go look at the sideline. They all put up shades so that they can protect their signals. You don't think they're not trying to tap into the unencrypted frequencies that you could figure out with a scanner and a little bit of know-how? Yeah, just keep making it like the NFL. That'll fix it. All right, coming up next, I want to talk some baseball. I got Make or Miss. It's Halloween, Halloween stuff we saw on the internet. Fun hour 2 next, 620 Rip City Radio.
7 a.m. on a Thursday. Brendan Slaughter with you for Rip City Mornings. The LA Dodgers are World Series champions after a historic Game 5 comeback, 7-6 over the Yankees to take the series 4-1. Not only did the Dodgers have a comeback, but they had some help from a lot of Yankee mistakes along the way. Down in Los Angeles, speaking of Los Angeles, but in Los Angeles, Portland Trailblazers got the victory against the Clippers on the road, 106-105, as DeAndre Ayton seals the game with a late steal on Ivica Zubac. Thursday Night Football tonight pits the struggling New York Jets. We talked about them last hour against the Houston Texans at MetLife. Is it a must-win for Aaron Rodgers and company? We'll see. Coming up here on the big show, we got Make or Miss in hour number 2. We got Sean Highkin, Rip City Radio, Blazers Insider, Rose Garden Report. Don't turn away. Rip City Mornings, hour 2.
Hey, welcome back to Rip City Mornings, everybody. Hopefully you are all having a fantastic Thursday. If you are new to the program, hey, we appreciate you hanging out with us. If you like what you hear, would you mind telling a friend? Just, it's no big deal. Just be like, hey, heard about this cool show. If you don't like what you hear, hey, just keep that to yourself. But I doubt it because we're having a ton of fun. Also, if you are a returning customer, thanks for hanging out with us, whether it is just a tiny bit of your day or you are a 3-hour hardcore. We appreciate each and every one of you. Couldn't do it without you. And we are, as I say, building the bricks. The momentum of Rip City Mornings continues to grow each and every day. Thanks to all of you. And I appreciate it. It is Halloween. Going only Reese's at the Myers household. Didn't go full candy bars. Thought about it. But I don't get enough foot traffic. And I don't want to be stuck with, 9 full-size candy bars. So went fun size, but going only Reese's at the Myers.
You couldn't have given the extras to your nieces and nephews or your producer?
I mean, you don't like chocolate.
Reese's, if they're full size Reese's, I'd mess with that. If you get what I'm saying, Justin.
If by about November 8th, let's just say, when I'm really going all right, I got to get this candy out of my house, I may show up with a bag of candy for
hey,
you.
Man, I'm never gonna.
I may show up with a bag of candy, and I just be like, "Here, this is for the office," or Brendan, if you would like to take it, have ats. But yeah, going Reese's only.
No, that's smart. That's a good one. Yeah, I
at the
thought
Myers
you get
house.
more foot traffic than I do because we are usually just the end of a dead end road. Where
Well, so are we. We're at the end of
makes sense.
of a dead end road, but we have some kids on the street, neighborhood kids, and those neighborhood kids are going to one day turn into teenagers, and I really want them to like me.
Fair.
Not because I need the approval of teenagers. I just don't want them destroying my property.
You wouldn't like any toilet paper on your house in one morning?
Do they still do that?
Well, kids do that.
Do the
because
kids
there's
still
no,
do the toilet paper?
There's no other than what do you call it? Like let me put it this way: you TP someone's house, it's an annoyance, but it's not.
But with Ring cameras and stuff,
oh, sure, you can.
You can get in pretty big trouble, right?
Well, again, Justin, from what I've heard nowadays, it's more like you can call your local authorities all you want and say, "Hey, I saw so and so on Ring cams." They go, "That's nice." So, I mean, it's.
Well, I would just say, if I saw neighborhood, and by the way, kids in my neighborhood, great, they're all awesome.
That ever happened to you? Happened to me once growing up.
What?
A house got TP'd.
Oh, yeah.
One time.
Look, and
it's just
Brendan, I grew up in the 90s,
the
okay?
House isn't ruined. Like, if you egg somebody's car, okay, that could be like a ruin.
Had that happen too?
Me too.
Now, let me just say, I think statute of limitations is up, right? I gave as good as I got. It was just what we did back in the 90s. And not saying it was right, not saying it was wrong. It was just a different time back then. There were no Ring cameras. Yeah. Would I don't know if it was the worst we ever did, but TP in a house is one thing. But because we live in the great state of Oregon, Brendan, there's a lot of trees and shrubbery. We TP'd one guy's tree, and you can't get that out. You can't climb up the tree and get the TP out. So we did that before. But we got it too.
Yeah.
Got it too. Yeah, the eggs, that's a different thing.
That happened to me once when I was
Shouldn't do it, kids. Just
That
go out, enjoy some candy, go to a party or something. Don't need any mischief.
Yeah, the only kind of mischief that, again, and it was like there was a thing going on when we were in school, Justin. Do you remember that stretch? I think you might have been in Seattle, if I'm doing my years correctly. 2015, 2016.
It's definitely there.
Remember that time when everybody's like, hey, let's just start randomly showing up in places dressed like a clown when it had that
because the Pennywise thing? Because of it?
So
I
was
remember
like the peak time where it's like, oh yeah, no, like you just like hide in a bush and just scare the crud out of people dressed as like a clown at like.
Yeah, not cool.
Yeah,
I would say again, not cool.
See, but not illegal. So just saying, I play within the bounds of the law, Justin.
Now I don't watch scary movies.
Pennywise.
I don't do horror movies. It's just they're not for me. When I was a kid, they were fun and campy with Freddy Krueger, but Freddy Krueger looked like, he didn't look real. Then all of a sudden, that Rob Zombie guy started making movies, and I'm like, that's way too real, and I'm going to be traumatized forever. And then they started doing all that Saw stuff, all the Saw movies, and then, like, they got too real. Like, technology and makeup and all that. I watch Freddy Krueger all the time. I was like, yeah, as a guy with some bad makeup, and it's, you get a little scare in you, but, like, once they started making movies where it looked super real.
You didn't mess with Pennywise, huh?
I did not. I couldn't even tell you what that movie was about. I know there's something to do with one red balloon.
Oh yeah.
And that people were doing that outside of movie theaters. Like they would go for like the 11 o'clock showing of it, and they would tie like one red balloon, and then
spoilers are out now, Justin. But again, for those people who are like it,
is that movie like 10 years old now?
Yeah,
All
and
right.
they made 2 parts.
I think we're safe at 10.
And they
10
made
years.
two parts. But again, you talk about horror as a genre. You want to have a movie that's a pop culture icon. Have a clown eat a child.
Is that what happened in the movie?
That's
he ate a child?
Ate little Georgie. Yeah, that was still gives me the shivers now.
That's
man.
Disgusting.
Well,
how did anybody decide that's a fun movie they want to watch?
Like never go to a storm drain, Justin. Don't look inside a storm drain. Pennywise could be in there. Like it's a scary thought.
I got a storm drain right in front of my
house. It's Halloween, so it hits, man. But don't look down the storm drain and be like, are there keys down there? What's down there? Yeah, scary stuff.
This is why I don't watch these.
See, and I don't blame you. There are
no need to.
There are people who do not mess with horror movies. I respect it. I like a good horror movie, but it can't be cheesy. That's the thing. It can't be cheesy.
Well, they used to be cheesy, which made them fun, and then they became too real, and it's just like, great, please scare the daylights out of me. That's what I want in this world. I don't understand that. I don't. If that's you, you do you, but I've never understood the thought of, you know what, I really like being scared. Why? There's enough scary stuff in this world. AI's about to take over. There's enough scary stuff out in the real world. Just watch the news. I need to watch fake scary stuff. What was your best costume you ever did as a kid? Best one you ever did?
That's a great question. Off the top of my head, I'm going to go with a couple. One, about 2006, right after they made the last movie, it was Darth Vader. That hit.
You were Darth Vader.
That hit.
Yeah.
When they did the complete series and you saw Anakin literally melt and burn into Darth Vader, that was a good one year.
Is that what happened at the end?
Yeah, in episode 3.
I didn't. I watched Star Wars. I watched The Empire Strikes Back. And I watched Return of the Jedi. Those were the staples that I watched as a kid on VHS. Then I watched the Attack of the Clones. Which one's the
Phantom Menace was first.
Phantom Menace. I watched Phantom Menace.
Yeah, Liam Neeson.
Then the Attack of the Clones was. I did not watch that, and I have not seen one since.
Yeah, and
I tried to watch the Han Solo one on a plane, fell asleep.
Oh yeah, that one's not a great one to watch.
Okay,
no,
well I fell asleep.
Yeah, no, 3, Revenge of the Sith, probably my favorite. So there was a time when Brendan
is that the one where Leonard and Booger and Poindexter tried to take over the cool guy? Oh wait, that was Revenge of the Nerds. Sorry. Doing a joke.
You're mean. You're
Revenge
mean.
of the Nerds.
You're mean. But anywho, I'd say
They took over the Tri-Deltas, and then they tried to take over the Alpha Omegas, and then they got the Omega Moos in there as well.
So I'd say that as a kid. As an adult, Justin, this is fun reference. I was a drunk priest at college, and it came with a little Bible book. But when it opened, it had a flask and shot glasses. And it was
Okay.
called The Book of the Holy Hammered. Only reason this is right on the top of my mind is my younger brother came home for the first time this last weekend before, to do the typical college stuff. Come back, get some food.
Get food, get
eat,
laundry done, yeah.
And be like, I'm hungry all the time. I can't afford anything. And I'm like, come on, man. But
That's how you learn to budget.
yeah, exactly.
But you got to go in the deep end.
And he goes, you don't happen to have an extra old Halloween costume somewhere that I can borrow? I'm going to frat parties and this. And, you go to like 3-4 parties when you're in college over the course of a couple days. And I found out that I still have that in the bag hanging on the shelf. So hand me down a Halloween costume. So I
my
appreciate
favorite
that.
growing up, I was a Ghostbuster.
Heck yeah,
that was
man.
the best.
That's a clutch
Ghostbusters was an awesome costume. So I was a Ghostbuster. That's probably my favorite as a kid. Again, though, the problem was you would wear your coat. Like the poor kids are going to have to do this tonight because it's going to rain, and you have to walk around with your raincoat on, and you do trick or treat. And you open up your raincoat. I'm a Ghostbuster, and then they give you candy, but. It's a rite of passage of children in the great state of Oregon. Yeah, you got to wear your costume, and then you got to wear a raincoat, and then you got to open Superman.
What do you think it's like to trick or treat in like Arizona or Texas? Where you
Probably
have
not as fun where it's too hot.
Shorts. Oh, in October though?
But as an adult, and I said this yesterday on Rip City Drive, I firmly believe this. If I hit a little too close to home, I make no apologies. If you are in a committed relationship, and you are going to either a Halloween party or you're dressing up for Halloween and you are in a committed relationship, if you're not in a couple's costume, I look at that as a red flag in the relationship. I was like, all right, something's going wrong. Now, I have no scientific proof of this. I have no evidence of this. But if you are in a committed relationship and you are dressing up for Halloween, and you are not in a couple's costume, because some people like to look down their nose at couple's costumes. Like, yeah, they're the best. And if you're not in a couple's costume, I'm like, red flag in that relationship. A handful of years ago, Kelly and I went as Double Dare contestants. And it was pretty awesome. That one probably our best couple's costume. Did Zach and Kelly from Saved by the Bell as well. But I think us as Double Dare contestants.
Yeah, I got to give
was
Jared,
probably our best.
I got to give Jared Goff I don't know if you saw that, Justin. Jared Goff, the Lions had their Halloween party over the weekend. Jared Goff and his wife showed up as Ricky Bobby and Ricky Bobby's wife.
Yeah, there we go.
Great pull, man.
But
Great
see,
pull.
you got you have to go couple's costume. If you go to a Halloween party and you're not in, if you're going to a Halloween party tonight, and if you're partying on Thursday night, good for you. But if you go and you're in a committed relationship and you don't have somewhat of a coordination between you and your significant other, I just look at it as a red flag. And that's me being a little judgy. I'm just saying that. All right. Coming up, we have got some stuff we saw on the internet. Speaking of Halloween, we have also got a make or miss. Sean Hyken joins the show coming up in hour number 3. Before we get to all that, I do want to let you know about Ticket Tuesday. You may not be out there trick-or-treating. The kids are going to bring in a haul of candy, but you know what? There's still a treat to be had coming up next week. How about tickets to an upcoming Trailblazer game? Because Trailblazer Ticket Tuesday is red hot and rolling here on Rip City Radio. Listen to Rip City Drive with the boys, Chad and Dwight, each and every Tuesday from 3 to 6 for your chance to win tickets to an upcoming Trailblazer home game every Tuesday. Single game tickets for the Blazers also on sale at trailblazers.com. It is Trailblazer Ticket Tuesday. Make or miss next, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, Sean Highkin joins us in an hour from now. He is the Blazers insider for us here at 620 Rip City Radio. He also does the Rose Garden Report. He is award-winning journalist. I think it was Oregon Sports Writer of the Year last year. So excited to talk to Sean, and we will be talking to Sean each and every Thursday throughout the Blazers season. And also anytime there is, if we do get breaking news with the Blazers, Sean is going to be a terrific resource. So excited for Sean Highkin to be joining the show on a weekly basis. And that starts today in about an hour from now. Blazers get a nice win. Brendan, this season is going to be so weird. It just is, because I understand what the rebuild entails. I know the things that have to be done with regards to a rebuild, and that involves losing an awful lot of games. Still not going to stop me from getting excited about a nice win against the Clippers on a Wednesday night. Because I saw some people on the internet last night. They're already like, "Oh, is this team going to lose?" Like, they're 2-3. All right, we got a long season ahead. As we've seen with the Blazers, injuries, maybe roster moves, who knows? But I like watching Donovan Clingan grab rebounds and hit shots. You know what I mean? I like watching Scoot Henderson take care of the basketball. And it's still fun to watch Anthony Simons drop 25 on a game against the Clippers. So, nice win for the Blazers last night, and we'll talk about the first week of the season with Sean Highkin coming up in an hour. We got some stuff we saw on the internet. Right now, though, let's dive in to Make or Miss. Here we go.
All right, Fired Up Make or Miss here on a Thursday. It all comes down to tonight for the Jets. Win or just end the season.
Yeah, that's what the Jets have meant almost my entire life, was just end the season. Boy, they are in a pickle too, aren't they? Because they lose tonight. There's nothing left for them to do. They've done all the things, right? They have fired the head coach. They have made the big splashy trade. There's nothing left for them to do. And they're in a position where they've got Aaron Rodgers, who clearly is not what he once was. Terrific quarterback, but he's not what he once was.
Although.
And they're also in a tough spot, and you love talking about this. The Jets need to be running the ball and playing defense. But you can't do that because you spent all your money on Aaron Rodgers to go and get him, or a draft capital, I guess I should say. And then you you moved more draft picks to bring in his buddy Devontae Adams. So those two have to prove that they can get the offense. This Jets team won last year with Zach Wilson because they were running the ball and playing defense. You know what I mean?
Speaking of that, Justin.
How upset is Breece Hall right now?
He's still. I mean, he could have more. But since they fired Saul and went to Ulbricht, it's been pretty. Like Breece has been getting close to. I mean,
yeah.
We talked about it. I forget who else we talked about on the show with, but it's like, yeah, he's top 5 running back in the NFL. He's like a Bijan Robinson, a Derrick Henry, a really good player. Now that being said, Justin, I always love the Aaron Rodgers isms because they're always just fun. Do you see his...
Are they still fun, or are they getting to where they're a bit like tired?
Well, see, we're 3,500 miles away, so from this far of a distance, it's kind of funny. But no, to your point, I get what
if he was the quarterback on my team and still talking about everybody needs to chill out and relax, like, you need to shut up.
But did you see how he went to his media yesterday? He goes, I found the fountain of youth. Did you hear about this?
Okay, so is this the cayenne pepper thing?
Yeah, he's drinking water mixed with cayenne pepper. I fell into this rabbit hole.
All right, so to save the Jets season, they have to go to like old timey this was early internet stuff.
Apparently it's very healthy. So
I've been hearing this nonsense about cayenne pepper and water, and sometimes they'll throw in maple syrup, right? This has been a thing on the internet for like 20 years. And it's something that most people they they want to lose weight. They're like, yeah, you got to get some cayenne pepper and you got to get some organic maple syrup and you got to do that 3 times a day. Then you can eat whatever you want and you'll lose weight. And turns out, nope, nobody did. I do whatever you got to do, Aaron Rodgers. But, tried and true, being prepared, making the right play, that's how you win football games. Drinking water with cayenne pepper. My goodness. You ever tried anything like that? You ever look, because I used to be fat. So I used to be real fat, and I tried everything. I mean, everything under the sun I saw on the internet, early 2000s. I tried everything to not be fat, except for the thing that works, which is exercise and eat vegetables.
You mean Ozempic?
If that existed back then, oh boy.
Yeah, because I was going to say, Justin.
Oh boy, they didn't exist back then.
Long term, we'll see. But short term, I can't argue with the results anymore because I know people who are bigger who are not big anymore. Like, just straight up. Like, they're probably
look, I'm not a doctor. You're not a doctor.
No.
So I don't want to get into a whole thing. And if it works for you, you do you. All I'm saying is back when I used to be fat, I tried, Atkins, let's do Atkins.
Hey, it worked for Rob Lowe, man. He looks pretty good.
Yeah, Rob Lowe was never fat, though.
Rob Lowe looks pretty good.
It's like, let's do Atkins. Oh, there's this soup, this cabbage soup that's supposed to jumpstart your metabolism. I tried it all. Water pills. Oh, you're bloaty. I'm like, no, I'm not bloaty. I'm eating cheeseburgers.
Yeah,
all right, But turns out, you know what happened? I started exercising. I started eating vegetables, and that works.
So
but good for Aaron Rodgers. You drink your cayenne pepper water. Maybe that'll work. But I have a hunch. There's more to it.
Okay.
I think it was Dominic Foxworth on ESPN. He was just like, what are we doing? Play better. Call better plays. Which I appreciated. But yeah, the Fountain of Youth, Aaron, that's what he's got it.
Yeah,
cayenne pepper and water.
I mean, I'll say this though, Justin. How else can you explain how Rob Lowe looks so good at 60 years old other than Atkins?
I got some thoughts. Botox, very high-priced LA doctors,
Keep going.
and really good genetics. You combine those 3 things.
And Atkins.
And Atkins.
About
yeah,
time.
it's those Atkins shakes and bars. It's definitely not the Botox and the hair plugs.
Dude,
and
he's rocking those Atkins commercials more than I care to admit, Justin. I see those often, and then you see him on all these TV shows
because it works. It's a great advertising. It's like, hey, you want to look like Rob Lowe? Eat these Atkins candy bars. They're way better than broccoli. If you want to drop weight, you eat vegetables and you move your body. It's very simple. It's the worst diet book in the world, but it works 100% of the time. Eat more vegetables than sugar and move your body, and you'll lose weight every time. But yeah, and you also stay young too. But no, cayenne pepper water.
Hey, again,
that's it.
Yeah, it said
that is hilarious though.
His old buddy Thomas Morstead is like, here, drink some cayenne pepper water, and then Rodgers had to say in his quote, he goes, "It is legal." So, had to double check on that.
Oh, yeah, because we're still hung up on, he's still hung up on that stuff. Like, I think most of the world is beyond it. Look, we all lost our minds one way or the other around 2020.
Ain't that the truth?
I had my moments.
We all did.
I'll keep those moments to myself where I maybe went a little too deep into the dark web trying to figure some things out. But we're all past it now. Aaron Rodgers is the only one that keeps bringing it up. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's true.
It's the only one. Nobody's talking to you about it anymore. Go on with your little quarter. But yeah, they lose tonight. Oh boy. So okay, from a football perspective,
I would put money on it. I would.
From a football perspective, what happens if they lose tonight? Because like I said, they've done all the things. They can't fire another coach. They can't make another splashy trade. If they're not going to get rid of guys,
no,
because they're too tied up. Like, what do they do?
Just kind of.
I guess you just sit in it.
Quietly go into the season. Quietly go into the night.
Yeah.
As they say. Yeah, that's why I said if I were
make your bed and lay in it.
Sometimes I am a betting man, but yeah, I would put money on this game tonight because I really do think that when the
one last scare on Halloween nights for the New York Jets.
Yeah, it's like the rubber's going to meet the road, and if the Jets care at all, like even the Texans coming off a win, they're like, okay, we just lost Diggs, but we get our best receiver back next week. This is not a must-win for the Texans. This is a if the Jets
and
lose
it's a short week. And
right, if the Jets lose this game, you're like, did you have just zero fight? Like, so, yeah. I mean, I think this is a real put-up or shut-up moment for the Jets, and it's crazy, Justin. If they lose this game, Danny Dimes is better than the Jets with Aaron Rodgers. That is mind-boggling.
Also, by the way, this Jets thing, I get it. It's Aaron Rodgers. He's a 4-time MVP. Never take that away. But a franchise that has a smidgen of history of success brings in an aging quarterback off of Achilles surgery and a coach that, and again, I don't ever say anybody should be fired because that's not my job, but a coach that was having some problems last year in terms of leadership and accountability. And it's like,
so do you think
you're surprised this isn't working?
Do you think anything would have really changed if he didn't his Achilles in that game 1 last year? Like, would that, like, how much would his Jets tenure overall be? If
I think it
changes
last year. I think so.
Okay.
Because remember,
the defense was more elite last year for sure.
Yes,
it was.
The year
ridiculous.
before, 2 years ago, Zach Wilson was the only anchor holding that team down.
It's true.
They were good at every phase except for quarterback because they had Breece Hall. Well, I guess they didn't have a very good offensive line, but they had
taking steps.
They had Breece Hall. They had Wilson. They have is it Quinnen Williams?
Yep.
They had that dude. Like, they had guys at every.
They still had Garrett Wilson. I mean, that's the other thing.
Guys at every phase, and as they didn't have a quarterback, then they got the quarterback, and then
they do get Hassan Reddick back on defense. He was their guy who had held out. They finally got that. Like, again, one of the better edge rushers in the NFL. They've had some injuries in that back end, but that's still, I believe. Actually, no, I think actually. Oh no, there he is. I was gonna say Sauce Gardner's back. I mean, Sauce Gardner, Justin, probably. We were talking about best defensive linemen earlier, edge rushers. On a given day, Sauce Gardner might be the best cornerback in the NFL, right? I mean, he's up for conversation, right? Or
I think he was, but like,
you think Sauce is losing a little bit?
He lost a little bit of sauce.
I mean, he's so young that it wouldn't be surprising.
I mean, I love George Pickens, but like George Pickens kind of torched him.
That's true.
And I don't know if, like, I think George Pickens is going to be pretty good, but there's not Justin Jefferson out there. I don't know. I guess that might just be life of a corner.
Yeah, I mean, well, here you go. It's like, I think it's, a couple guys that come to mind. You're not going to like this. This guy that plays for the Chiefs that your wife likes to talk about a couple times. He's pretty darn good. This guy named Trent McDuffie.
Well, my wife doesn't talk about Trent McDuffie.
I thought you mentioned Trent McDuffie because he was UW.
Oh, it was a UW guy. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm like,
I was like,
what are you I didn't just misremember that. You mentioned that.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, like, you mentioned that. I was like, what?
I was like, when
Trent McDuffie.
You're right. She talked about him in a game.
Yeah, no, I think he's got a case. I mean, the Chiefs have been really, really good this year defensively, obviously. But yeah, maybe it's Pat Surtain.
I was going to say Patrick Surtain is
Denver's
so good.
Denver's really good this year. But I think Jalen
Ramsey, yeah.
I think he's kind of starting to fall off a little bit. Like, do we think about him too much on the Dolphins? I forgot that's where he
Maybe
played.
That's probably why, though. I don't know.
Yeah, it's fair. But nevertheless, we've gone too far into the show without taking a deep dive into this. So if it's okay with you, Justin, let's move on to our next one here.
I would love to.
This one going to sting for Yankee fans.
It really is going to sting. All right,
Cue up Michael Squints Palidorus.
Can I do my baseball thing right here? Can I do my baseball fundamental thing right here? This is why I get so frustrated with people that are obsessed with analytics. This right here, what happened to the Yankees in the fifth inning, is why I get so frustrated. I understand analytics is part of the game. I understand that advanced stats is part of the game. And quite frankly, the Dodgers won a World Series basing a lot of their decisions on statistics and analytics and everything else. That being said, I remember having this conversation with a coworker of mine one time because while I played competitive baseball at the junior college level, clearly not at the Major League Baseball, but I played baseball at a fairly high level. A long time ago, junior college good. But I remember having this conversation with a coworker of mine who did not play baseball but loved baseball, and there's nothing wrong with that, who was trying to argue with me about this guy's better than this guy. Look at the WAR. Look at the advanced stats. And I go, and I drew up a baseball diamond. This is how much of a jerk I was. And I'm like, all right, runner on first, bunt down the line, who goes where? Basic fundamentals you learn in Little League. You learn basic bunt defense in Little League. And he's like, I don't know where anybody goes. So how is it that all of these stats and analytics can tell you which player is better than the other if we don't know basic fundamentals? So now I fast forward to the Yankees, and the Yankees have got Giancarlo Stanton and Aaron Judge and Rizzo and Juan Soto, and they have got all these. If you can't do basic fundamental baseball in the postseason, none of it matters. And for an inning, one inning, the Yankees forgot basic fundamental baseball. Garrett Cole forgot something that they work on. Pitchers covering first base. It's called PFPs. Anybody that's ever played baseball knows exactly what I'm talking about. First day of practice. All right, pitchers, you go down the line, you're going to do some PFPs. It's called pitcher fielding practice. And you sit there on the first day, and all the pitchers, and they pretend to throw. And with a fungo, you hit a ground ball in between pitcher and first base, and you practice. Either you get the ball and you cover communication between first baseman and the pitcher. That play is day one, high school stuff. And Garrett Cole was like, nah, I need to cover first. Now, Mookie Betts is one of the fastest guys in Major League Baseball. I don't know if Garrett Cole even gets to the bag, if he does. But the fact that he didn't even try, then Aaron Judge skillets a ball with his glove, then air on the shortstop, trying to throw a guy out who's running in front of his face. Brendan, I don't know how to explain how elementary fundamentals this stuff is. This is not high-level strategic baseball that the Yankees were messing up in the fifth inning yesterday. This was high school day one stuff. You try to throw a guy out who's crossing your face? Pitcher's got to cover first base. Obviously, Aaron Judge catching a ball. He got 2 steps ahead of himself. He was trying to throw a guy out. He was probably and that at that point the wheels are falling off. And anybody that's played baseball has had an inning like that. But this is why I get so frustrated with all analytics. All right, where are the analytics of Garrett Cole not covering first base? Is that going to show up on any kind of thing? That an advanced stat that you are giving me, basic day one elementary stuff, that doesn't show up. So, all right, soapbox down, rant over. Answer your question. Yeah, this one's going to sting. This one's going to sting. But it's my big frustration with people who obsess on analytics. It's like that doesn't matter if you can't do basic fundamentals. Basketball, same way. Oh, analytics, like yeah, but if you can't defend a pick and roll, none of the analytics matter. None of it matters. Football, analytics say go for it. Yeah, but if that guy can't block that guy, none of your analytics matter. And that's what happened to the Yankees last night. In a game with the season on the line, the Yankees made 3 errors, did not cover first, which is an unforced error, had a catcher's interference, which you see maybe once a season, but gave away a base, and then a balk in the World Series with the season on the line, with a 5-run lead. Those things. On top of already a World Series, because to add to yours, to your make or miss, Brendan, you're exactly right. Go back. Remember when Giancarlo Stanton got thrown out at home? Because he was dogging it and wasn't expected to be around it, and he got thrown out at home. Changed that game. They've had guys getting thrown out on the bases. They've had guys not score. Like, guy on second, ball goes off the wall, doesn't score. Now, that was forgotten about because that was game 4, and they would ultimately win that one. But they've been making just basic baseball mistakes.
Well, and
the entire World Series.
Well, and I just think this is going to sting, Justin, because you're absolutely right. But it's just going to sting for years because this was their first. Correct me if I'm wrong. This is their first World Series appearance since 09.
Since 09, 15 years.
And like you think about it, Justin, for as bad, and it was bad, because I know we got to go back in the Wayback Machine, and regardless of whether or not you believe 2020 was real or not, I for the sake of this argument, even when the Lakers were at their pits at the end of Kobe, when Kobe tore his Achilles, they're paying him a ridiculous amount of money. They were bad. They were giving
running him out there to keep people showing up at the arena.
Yeah, they had Jordan Hill, who was out there getting like 40 minutes. And the Blazers won 15 straight against them. Good time. I remember that.
Yeah.
Justin, even they were down for 3 years when they're like, all right, we got the hired gun LeBron. We're going to go win a bubble title. Take away the bubble title. And it's like they probably would still be 15 years for the Yankees.
It's a lot.
Almost unacceptable.
Especially when you've got Aaron Judge, who's an MVP caliber guy, and the payroll is still through the roof.
So with all these errors, again, I don't think it'd be this knee-jerk. Do you put it on? Does this land on Aaron Boone?
100%.
Yeah.
Also,
and does Aaron Boone find himself out of a job?
I know it makes me sound like a bit of a casual. I'm obviously not a baseball casual, but I'm a Yankee casual. I don't watch the Yankees. That's not my team. But from what I understand, it sounds like Aaron Boone made some pitching decisions in this World Series where they were like, what on earth are we doing here? That just made zero sense. Because sometimes it happens. You get to the World Series, you freak out.
It's true.
Because all of your regular baseball strategy just goes out the window. All right, you know what a Yankee fan could use right now? $1,000. $1,000 cash for the sixth man is back. Listen to Keywords. We just had one a handful of minutes ago. There's another one coming up in the next hour. Keywords every weekday from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. on the 15s for your chance to win $1,000 13 times a day. All the details at ripcityradio.com. Cash for the sixth man. Stuff we saw on the internet. Next, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, let's wrap up hour number 2. It is Halloween. There shall be lots of trick-or-treating going on, whether you're going to be like me, sitting at home, handing out candy, which I go big handful. If I find your costume clever or adorable, you get more. I do have and there's not an official scale. It's just it's the there's no advanced stat analytics. I know I just went off on that on the amount of candy that I give per cuteness of costume. But if I find your costume well done, you get a bigger handful. You just do. That's it's my own personal judgment. Is because it's my bowl and it is my home, and my wife's not going to be around this evening when I am handing out the candy, so it's on the Justin scale. So there's going to be obviously a ton of candy exchanged, and then I would imagine, like most other places, a lot of candy showing up around the office because if you're going to be like me, you're like, I got to get this out of my house, but then you can't escape it because there's all this candy in your house, and then you're like, oh, I go to the office, and there it is. But I have got, not surprising, these are the most popular Halloween candy based upon purchase. Brennan, I have a hunch you're not going to like this list because you're not the biggest chocolate fan, and the majority of the popularity in terms of Halloween candies purchased is of the chocolate variety. But I thought we could go through the top 10. Are there any glaring omissions? Is there candy that is being slept on? But these are the top 10 Halloween candies simply based upon purchased. More people buy these than any other. Number 10, though, coming in, Skittles. Where are you at on Skittles?
I like Skittles.
Big fan?
Yeah, I like Skittles.
Do you have like a particular... Don't they all kind of taste the same?
No, absolutely not.
Okay, which...
Absolutely. Strongly disagree. So much so that when I was in Reno, there was a machine that you could pick and create
You could create your own Skittle mix?
Yes.
Like a cocktail?
All lemon, all lime, all orange, all grape, all
So
red.
do you separate them, or do you just go handful of Skittles?
I just go handful, but in general, yeah, I love yellow.
Yellow's the one?
I ride for yellow.
All right.
Man. Lemon's good.
It's been a long time since I've had a Skittle in
And
any
as a
way,
kid,
shape, or
it
form.
was also really fun just to like eat the green and yellow ones. You're eating the duck ones, man.
No.
You ever ate the orange ones? Never.
Gotcha.
Orange ones were gross anyway.
When I was a kid and I liked the fruity candy, now I'm all chocolate, but when I liked the fruity candy, anything red, I was in. Fake cherry flavor, fake strawberry. So like red Skittles, red Starburst, red, what was it? Jolly Ranchers. But number 10 on the list is Skittles. Number 9, Sour Patch Kids, which is interesting that it made the top 10.
Also delicious.
Sour Patch Kids is always a movie candy for me as opposed to a Halloween candy, but
sometimes not sour enough, but they're solid.
not sour enough.
Yeah, they could use about another degree of 5.
Did you ever hear of the atomic warhead? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah.
You've had those?
Had those. Oh yeah.
Are you a big fan of those? Just
I mean,
you
not
want
big fan, but
you like the lemon?
I like sour candy.
Man, you have a sour thing.
Oh, it's almost like it. It goes along with my personality, Justin. Sour, sometimes sweet.
Sometimes. All right, number 8 on the list. Now we get into
let's get
it's chocolate the rest of the way out.
Let's get it.
The Milky Way comes in at number 8. It's all right.
Yeah, it's all right.
It's a fine candy bar.
No complaints or
it's not overrated, not underrated.
Yeah.
It's just it is what it is. It's a Milky Way.
I would have you've had this I would have a Milky Way if someone gave me a snack size.
Yeah, if I walked out of here tomorrow, and this is what happens around November is somebody in sales is going to bring in a whole big thing of candy and it's going to sit out there, and I walk by it and I grab one every day. If there's a Milky Way in there, I'll grab one. Hershey's milk chocolate. Again, not much to it, but it's fine. Just a regular chocolate bar from Hershey's.
Yeah, that's not my fave. That one I'll say I shouldn't surprise you, but I'm
a little too boring for you. And it's just there's nothing else there.
Right, nothing else there. So unless it's on a s'more, that's about the only way I'll buy regular Hershey's chocolate.
Kit Kat at 6, criminally low. Criminally low. Kit Kat is a top 3 candy bar. It is. I will die on this. Kit Kat, criminally low. at number 6.
It's properly rated. I'm not a big fan of.
Oh, I love them. Other than Reese's Peanut Butter Cups, I think Kit Kat might be my second favorite.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I'll say it's properly rated, maybe a little overrated, but my opinion doesn't hold as much water here with the
with the chocolate ones. Kit Kat at 6, Twix at 5.
Also,
it's about right where it's supposed to be.
I'm out on Twix. Never been a big fan of Twix.
I like Twix.
Never been a big fan. And, same your little left Twix, right Twix debate. It's so stupid, in my opinion.
Well, that's a marketing ploy.
I know,
That's a marketing ploy.
It's crazy.
It was a funny thing for a while. Twix is good.
I'd put Kit Kat above Twix. I'll say that. Like, if you're going to give me both and say which one do you want, that Twix caramel's getting stuck in my teeth. I'm taking it.
Oh, yeah, Kit Kat's over Twix.
Yeah.
That's why I said Twix is 5, is about where it's supposed to be. Kit Kat's a top 3 candy. Number 4, this is most popular by purchase. This is the most purchased Halloween candies. Number 4, peanut M&Ms. Number 2 is regular M&Ms. That is a thing that's changed a little bit from when I was a kid. There were 2 M&Ms. There was peanut and there was plain, and everybody had their go-to. I was a plain M&M guy. I had friends though that were diehard. No, peanut M&Ms is the now you got almond and peanut butter and Cookie Crunch, and they got like all sorts of M&Ms now. But peanut M&M sits at number 4. Number 3, Snickers. Absolutely, Snickers is there in the top 3. To me, the holy trinity of Halloween candy is Snickers, Kit Kat, peanut butter cup. Though that's the 3. M&M's plain come in at number 2.
Criminal to see no Butterfinger on this list.
Absolutely, I was going to up the top. Now, I don't like Butterfingers myself. Well, I shouldn't say I don't like them. They're not my favorite. I shall eat them if they are available. Very surprised Butterfinger's not
criminal
in the top 10.
I'm out on this list, Justin. It's lost.
What do you take out? The Milky Way?
Twix, without a doubt. Yeah.
Take out Twix, Brendan?
Or okay,
I'll give you.
Have me say take out.
I'll take out the Milky Way.
Okay,
because
fine.
a Snickers is basically a Milky Way with peanuts.
Fair.
Like I'll take out the Milky Way and I'll give you a Butterfinger.
Yes, well, that's fine because otherwise we'd be going for regular M&Ms. So peanut can stay. Otherwise, we're going for regular M&Ms.
Can't be coming
gross.
They melt in your mouth, not in your hand.
You need peanuts, man.
They're soft. They got a delicious candy shell, and then
chocolate
of course
can't be by itself for Brendan. It has to have something with it.
And the goat, the Reese's peanut butter cup.
I'm with
it's just the absolute goat. And if you have any, if anybody has every Halloween, Christmas, peanut butter tree, Easter, peanut butter egg, is everything with Reese's peanut butter cups is the absolute best. All right. Speaking of the absolute best, we continue the show. Sean Highkin joins the show in hour number 3, RCM mailbag. Some nightmare scenarios brewing in college football as well. We'll talk about that next. 620 Rip City Radio.
8 a.m. on a Thursday. Brendan Slaughter with you for Rip City Mornings. The LA Dodgers are World Series champions after a historic Game 5 comeback 7-6 over the Yankees to take the series 4-1. Portland Trailblazers got the victory against the Clippers on the road at the Intuit Dome, 106-105, as DeAndre Ayton seals the game with a late steal. And over in the NFL, Thursday Night Football tonight pits the struggling New York Jets against the Houston Texans at MetLife. A must-win for Aaron Rodgers and company? Well, there's been a couple of those now, and they've had losses, so we'll see. Coming up on the big show, we're going to have Sean Hike in about 20 minutes, our Rip City Radio insider, Rose Garden Report, catch up, see what he thinks of the win over the Clippers at the Toilets Arena, and much more. We got the RCM mailbag, final hour, Rip City Mornings.
Hey, welcome back to Rip City Mornings, everybody. Man, you are never going to get over that toilets thing, are you?
Never. Well, now that they played there, I have to let it go.
I mean, it's an all-time clip, though. I mean, it really is.
Once.
It's like there's a guy worth over $100 billion screaming at the top of his lungs with a hard hat on.
Yeah, it was going to go.
It's perfect internet. It's like there's Ballmer,
yeah.
toilet, but
it was going to go until the Blazers played there once. I've made my jokes in the update. We're all set. So next time they're at the Intuit Dome, don't worry about it.
Again, as I have said, most people wanted to throw jokes, and I understand why people would want to throw jokes. Ballmer's kind of funny to make fun of. I wish more owners were like him. I do. I wish more owners would be like, yeah, you know what is massively, massively important? Getting people a chance to go pee and then get back to their seats so they don't miss any of the game. And they put in 3 times the toilet. And I'm like, that's genius. That's genius stuff. It's also helpful to have, $1 billion here and $1 billion there and to be able to throw money at it. But yeah, that is that the worst? And obviously you go to games in the press box, but you've been to games as a fan before, and you've gone to concerts and stuff. Is that the worst when you're like in line at the bathroom or at the concession stand and you're like, and you can hear that something's going on and you're like, God, what am I missing? That is one of my all-time, like nails on a chalkboard to me as a sports fan is like sitting in the line at a concession stand and just go like, I can hear it. I can hear the game starting again. Guys, we need to hurry up.
Funny enough.
But you've already committed to standing in the line, you know what I mean? And so to leave would be almost worse.
Funny thing is, that was me, Justin, waiting in the, again, I just gotta get this little in there. That was me waiting in line at the high school-like concessions for Oregon State versus Reno when we were playing Nevada.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there, and the second half had started. I'm just waiting to get my twisted tea since my team can't stop the run, and I need to be drinking. So, yes, that was story time with nephew Brendan. It's on Thursday. Yes, very relatable to your boy recently.
Like I'm
like, the game is starting, and they're like, drip, drip, drip. Drip.
It is the worst.
It's like, I'm pretty sure it's like the local booster club working the concessions.
Well, but also like
it's high school.
It'd be one thing if you were at the back of the line. You're like, fine, forget it. I'm leaving. But like when you're like 3 people from the front and all of a sudden the game's back on and you're like, come on, I'm so close. I've committed to this. But Blazers get a win last night. Ant looked really good. Ant dropped in 25 points. I'm developing a slight obsession with Donovan Clingan. It's happening. He played 11 minutes last night, but when he play, for me, I don't know, but when he plays, I was like, he's popping off the screen. I think maybe because the bar for Blazers centers have been low. Because look, DeAndre Ayton played 34 minutes last night, had 15 points. What did he pull down? 12 boards last night. Had a nice steal at the end
to seal it. Yeah, that was a great defensive play by DA there.
What are the Clippers doing at the end of that game?
I don't know why you're throwing it to Zubats.
You've got Norman Powell, who's got 30 points, right, and you've got James Harden, one of the best bucket getters in the history of the NBA. And with 3 seconds to go down 1, you decide to throw a lob to Zubats, who's being defended by a long, lanky 7-footer.
Yeah, that was surprising. Now, I'll say this, Justin.
But again, I don't know.
It's obviously
I don't know about basketball.
Easier to talk about it with a win. But one of the first things I was going to mention to you, Blazers got bailed out because I don't know if leading by 1 with a closeout possession, you want DeAndre Ayton shooting threes. I don't know about that. Like, I know he made one.
Yep.
I'd solid for DA.
He did.
But I don't know if I want the ball in his hands with a chance to put the
Yeah.
game away.
I'm
now,
with
he
you.
made up for it. He got the steal. All's well that ends well. But I don't know if DA in the corner is the shot I'm looking for, Justin. Just saying. That's all. That's all.
See, it's a weird spot because as Blazer fan, like normally in a normal season, I think a lot of us would be ripping our hair out and screaming at the top of our lungs. This season, boy, that's weird. DA's shooting a 3. Oh, if they don't win this game, meh. More ping pong balls. Do you know what I mean? Like it's just such a non-normal year. Doesn't mean it's not an entertaining year. Doesn't mean you can't watch games and have a good time, but it doesn't feel as cutthroat as it normally does, I guess, is the point I was trying to make. But yeah, I guess I can't sit here and be like, Ty Lue, what is he doing? Lobbing it like close out possession up 1. Yeah, 3 would have been nice. Is that like I don't think it's like Nurk, but remember when I think you and I talked about this. Remember when Nurk came back after summer and was like, yeah, I shoot 3s now? And the worst thing that would have ever happened is he knocks down 1 early. Because then he's just like, yep, I'm a stretch 4 now. And it's like, no, you're not.
It's tough.
But hey, nice win.
But no, I'm glad I wasn't alone. That was kind of like when DA shot that 3. I was like, I'm glad I wasn't alone because he made the other one and everyone's like, and it was so funny because, and maybe I need to adjust my expectations, Justin, because they show that play. Kevin Lamar like, oh, DA missed that one, but he was fired the last time. You see DA walking back to the huddle. He's getting dapped from Chauncey Billups. Donovan Clingan's giving him dap, and you're like,
I mean, I
are
guess.
we wanting him to I mean, maybe that's it. I don't know. I don't judge.
We continue to talk about how this year is about development, right?
Yeah.
I've been hearing it all, like, because, I hear it from Chad. I hear it, from you. I hear it from, it's like, this season is about development. It's about I mean, maybe that's part of DA's development. If he could develop the ability, because all great centers in this league really have the ability to step out and knock down an open 3, right? From Embiid to Jokic, Wemby, who else is in there? Like Banchero,
Yeah.
like all these guys have the ability, when left wide open, to knock down a 3. Maybe this is all part of that development. Maybe.
Could be, I guess.
But I'm kind of with you. We got a lot of guys that can't.
Like Anthony Simons was on fire last night. No one could stop him going into the lane. I'd be okay with him throwing up a 1 off the glass again. But nevertheless, Justin,
he saw an open look. He hit it. He was 1 for 3.
Yeah,
the ball doesn't look terrible coming out of his hand.
No, and
he doesn't look like a weirdo shooting a 3. So I don't know. Maybe it's part of the development.
There have been, and Justin, let's say this: there have been some guys who shall remain nameless, who have been part of the tank the last couple years.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't look good coming off their hands, Justin. Like, you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I'm not going to disparage their family names anymore, but you know who I'm talking about. Like, there's a couple guys where you're like, hey, let's build a brick city, man.
Keon Johnson. Well, Keon Johnson could shoot. He just shot forever. He would if he.
It was his night one way or the other, man.
It's going to be my night one way or the other. All right. I want to talk some real quick because we're going to get hiking in here and we're going to talk, obviously, a lot of Blazers and some NBA stuff. Here's what I'm wondering about the college football playoff. Right now, I believe a conservative number. There are 20 teams currently in college football that have a chance at making the college football playoff. I think you can add a couple of others in there if you want to. Like, you could throw in, like, Tulane 6-2. If Tulane wins out and Army loses to Notre Dame and Tulane and Navy drops another game, like Tulane could get in and Boise could drop another game. Tulane's technically not out of it, but I wouldn't give them much of a chance. But there's like we talked about Washington State yesterday. I don't see a path for Washington State, but technically, mathematically,
they talked about him on the Thunderdome yesterday, Justin.
They don't have a chance.
They said, "Look out for the Cougs, man," and I was like, "Yeah, just gonna go. Yeah, there's a chance, man." You're telling me there's a chance.
I just don't see it. I don't see it, but again, that'll all work itself out. But like you look at what's going on in the ACC right now. And I think most people have got Clemson versus Miami in the ACC championship game. And I think if they both make the ACC championship game, I believe both of them, regardless of win or loss, I think both of them make it. Like Clemson at 11-3 or 11-2, with their only losses being in a championship game and to Georgia, I think Clemson makes it. And here's what I wanted to bring up. In years past, it has been a detriment to teams to lose that championship game, right? You get into the championship game, and you would have been in the college football playoff when it was 4 teams, but you take the loss there, and because of an extra game, there's another team like Notre Dame or a team that's not playing that they might sneak in. Like Alabama last year, right? Alabama didn't play in the No, they did. They played Georgia. But there was a year where a team that didn't participate in the championship game, I think, got in. I can't remember it. But point being, do you think the committee is going to factor that in? Like, again, Clemson and Miami. Let's say both of them run the table. Clemson ends the regular season 11-1. 11-1, that one loss being to Georgia. But they would have beaten, well, they don't really have a good win on their record, but they would have beaten Louisville. They would have beaten Pitt, who's undefeated right now, who's ranked, and they would have beaten South Carolina. If Clemson was 11-1, they're probably in the college football playoff with their only loss being to Georgia. Do they take a detriment playing against Miami and losing in a game that's not scheduled?
Yes. I think.
See, I don't think that's right, though.
I don't think it's right either, but it's
and that's what I'm wondering. These are it's Halloween. We're talking nightmares. These are the nightmare scenarios I'm wondering in college football. Are teams going to be punished for actually making the conference championship game?
So could I be selfish, though, for nightmare scenarios for those ridiculous or those respective fan bases? Like,
I think for the committee. Like, if you're the committee, do you keep an 11-1 team out or put in an 11-2 team who has more losses, but the only reason they have another loss is because they're in the championship game? Do you know what I mean? Like, what if we've talked about this with Big Ten? What if Oregon, Penn State, and Indiana all win out? Does the loser of the Big Ten championship game get hurt more than the team that doesn't even make it? Do they take a bigger detriment? Like, there's some interesting stuff that we've never seen before, right? What happens in the Big 12? What happens in the Big 12 if it's Kansas State and BYU and Iowa State is maybe sitting there at 11-1, but they don't go? And Kansas State loses to go to 11-2. Who gets the bid? Like this, there's some interesting stuff that I'm really interested. That's why I talk about with the Cougs. I'm like, this is a committee decision, and I don't know if there's going to be a committee that is going to put in 2 group of 5 teams when there's going to be a handful of 10-2 and 11-1 teams just sitting out there hanging out. Nightmare stuff for the committee. I'm glad I'm not on the committee. I'll just say that right. I love college football. I'm glad I'm not on the committee. You know what I am glad about? Sean Highkin from the Rose Garden Report, Blazer Insider for us here at 620 Rip City Radio. He joins us next on Rip City Mornings. All right, nice win last night for the Blazers at the Intuit Dome. Blazers now 2-3 on the season. They get ready to take on the Oklahoma City Thunder tomorrow night back home at Moda Center. Less toilets, but still friendly confines up here at Moda Center. And joining us now, and very excited to announce not just today, but each and every Thursday at this particular time slot, Sean Highkin, who is the Blazers insider for us here at 620 Rip City Radio. You also know him from the Rose Garden Report, will appear each and every week. So happy to have him every Thursday throughout basketball season. Sean, good morning. Welcome back to the show. How we doing?
I'm doing great, Justin. How about you?
I'm doing fantastic. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff to dive into. Let's get down to the important stuff. First off, it is Halloween, Sean. As a child, favorite Halloween costume was?
I wore a Bart Simpson mask one year, and it didn't go well though.
Oh, really?
I was really happy about it, but it didn't go well. It was one of those like oversized rubber masks where like the eye holes were way too small, and so like before I went out, I had to get my mom to like cut out like a bigger part of the eyes, and so that's the most memorable one. I'll say that.
Well, and we were talking because it's going to rain this evening, and I do think as Brendan and myself and you, we're all Oregonians. We grew up in this weather. It is kind of a rite of passage as a kid when you get real excited about your Halloween costume, and then it's going to rain on Halloween, and then you got to wear your raincoat, and then like knock on the door, and then you go like you open your raincoat up and be like, I'm a Ghostbuster, and then like it is kind of that rite of passage, and I would assume then with a big oversized Bart Simpson's mask with the eye holes cut out, and then maybe it's raining as well. You're like, I'm Bart Simpson, cowabunga dude. Can I trick or treat, please? It's one of those things that us as Oregonians, like regular kids around the country, they don't know our pain.
Yeah, the rain is going to make it tough for you if you have any costume that has any kind of involvement at all in it, as far as like any kind of details or anything a little bit more intricate. That's going to be tough.
And then second Halloween question, and then we'll definitely get into basketball. Don't worry. We did the Halloween candy ranking. I gave my holy trinity, which is it's Snickers, it is Kit Kat, it is Reese's Peanut Butter Cup. To me, those are the top three. What is in your top three or your number one Halloween candy that you are looking forward to?
Well, I'll give you the number one is $100 grand. I'm a big caramel guy.
$100 grand. Okay. Came out of nowhere. Deep. I've seen like the music that you post on. Like you seem like a deep cut guy, which I appreciate.
That's not that deep of a cut.
$100
I feel like we got the. No, I don't think that's that deep of a cut.
Okay. All right. It's definitely not mainstream, which is me. I'm a as the kids would say, Sean, I am basic. And I've got.
Well, none of those choices that you posted are wrong. That's the thing. I would never be mad if I got any of those three.
But I'm with you. Yeah, you drop $100 grand. It's we're doing pretty good. All right, Sean Highkin, who is our Blazers insider, joining us here on 620 Rip City Radio. All right, Sean. We're a week and a day into the season, and obviously we had a lot of expectations and a lot of thoughts and stuff heading into the season. Has there been anything that's happened? And I realize it's an incredibly small sample size, but what has been your biggest takeaway when the Blazers went from training camp to actually playing games here in the first week of the season?
So throwing out opening night, which was just a disaster, has been acknowledged as such. I feel like this team has largely lived up to what they were hoping to do in the preseason, as far as like, yeah, they're probably not going to win a lot of games. And I think there's going to be a lot more games. Like as far as this most recent road trip, there's going to be a lot more games like the Sacramento game than like the Clipper game last night. But they're playing hard and they're competing and they're sticking with teams. And that's kind of all you want in a season like this to rebuild.
So you go back and you look at last night's game, and I think one of the And we talked about it last week, Sean. Like the obsession that I and I think a lot of basketball fans have with starting lineup and being a starter as opposed to a rotation guy. But then I'm curious as to how they were going to handle the Scoot Henderson thing. And now looking at like the minutes that he is playing, right? Clearly, he has doubled up on almost all of the other rotation guys. I know Chris Murray played a handful of minutes last night, but Scoot's been playing more minutes than anybody coming off the bench. It feels like this is kind of by design, letting him kind of settle in, bringing him off the bench, but still playing a significant amount of minutes. Am I reading that right?
Well, that's kind of what happened last year, too. Remember, they start the season starting him, and he looked completely out of his depth, and he looked completely lost out there. And then once they started bringing him off the bench, he started to find his rhythm a little bit. He started to get more comfortable. He started to kind of put some things together. I think we're starting to see the same thing happen. Because remember, so Anthony Simons doesn't play the first 3 preseason games. They play Scoot in preseason, and suddenly there's all this talk, among the fan base and online about like, oh, it's like this is not going well. And then, with everybody healthy, they bring Scoot off the bench to start the season, and a couple rough games to start out. But he was 2 games in particular, last night and the first New Orleans game. He's looked about like the good end of what he looked like towards the end of last year that had everybody excited about it. So I think for right now, they're happy with this role that Scoot is in. The more interesting thing as far as when you talk about the starting lineup is what's going to happen in a few weeks when Shaedon Sharpe comes back. Because that's then at that point, it's like, do you take Toumani Camara out? I don't think you can because he's been too good. Do you take Denny Avdia out? Maybe you can do that because his shot hasn't really been falling, but he's also been really impactful defensively and in other ways. But I think the bigger question about the starting lineup is going to be what happens with Shaedon. But with Scoot, I think they're happy with Scoot in the 6-man role right now, and it seems like that's working for him right now. So, we'll see how it goes as the season progresses. But for right now, I think that's what they're happy doing.
Sean Highkin, Blazers insider for us here on 620 Rip City Radio. You mentioned Shaedon Sharpe, which is where I was going to go next. Where are we at on the timeline? I know the Blazers have said everything is kind of going according to plan, but with regard to his timeline, where are we at?
I think the 4 to 6 weeks is still kind of what they're expecting, and the 4-week end of the timeline is the game on Saturday against Phoenix. I don't think he's going to play in that game, but anytime after that, that's when the clock officially starts as far as like now we're past the short end of the timeline. So I will tell you, he has been, he had his shoulder in the sling for the first week after he was diagnosed with the injury, but since then he's been getting shots up at practice, and whenever I've talked to him, I haven't really talked to him in depth since the injury. I've just seen him in the locker room, said hi. He seems like he's in a pretty good mood. I've heard that he's really pushing, behind the scenes, like he wants to get back out there, which, both because he's in a contract extension eligible year, but also because he barely played last year with the core injury. He wants to play. He's a basketball player. He wants to play. So he's really pushing to get back out there. And I think the medical staff is maybe saying, hey, let's slow this down a little bit. But since the injury was diagnosed, the game that I've personally had circled, this is not reporting. This is not any kind of, I've heard that he could be back for this game. There's just the one, when they gave the timeline, I sat down, I looked at the schedule. This is the one that makes sense to me, and that's the game on the 17th against Atlanta, because that's right after the 6th week of the timeline, so they give him enough time to ramp up, and it's also after 3 days off in the schedule, and it's at home. So to me, if you're making me right now predict when we might see him back out there, it might be that game against Atlanta. But now that we're almost past the 6 weeks, it could be any time, depending on what the medical staff is willing to let him do, how his ramp-up goes. As far as I've heard, he hasn't had any setbacks with the shoulder, so I think that's all good. It's just a matter of they want to get him ramped up and they want to get him, I think they want to be a little bit more conservative with it, but I think it'll be sooner rather than later.
Speaking of injuries, Matisse Thybulle and Robert Williams, where are we at on their timeline? Do we know anything?
I haven't heard anything on Matisse. They said when they diagnosed him with the injury, they said 3 to 4 weeks, so we're probably a couple weeks out from that still. Rob could be any time. The thing with Rob is he was pretty much ramped up during preseason from the hamstring injury, and then he got sick and missed a few days of practices. And when you're coming back from an injury like that, especially like a hamstring injury that's like a soft tissue thing, you don't want to throw a guy back out there in a game after he like misses some especially when he was already out rehabbing an injury, and then you need to get his conditioning back up to where it was. But so I think it could be soon. I think it, there's a chance. I mean, I wouldn't entirely rule out tomorrow against Oklahoma City. I'm not going to sit here on the radio and predict it because I don't know when it's going to. But I think it's possible. Like it's whenever they decide he's comfortable. But it shouldn't be too much longer, I don't think.
Sean Highkin, who is our Blazers insider here on 620 Rip City Radio, also from the Rose Garden Report, who joins us each and every Thursday here on Rip City Morning. So in the game last night, we were talking about it last segment, Sean, and it was interesting in a close game, closeout possession, DeAndre Ayton shoots a three, and first thought is, don't know if that's the guy you want shooting, but also thinking about, everybody talks about this year is about development, and usually you think of Scoot, Shaedon, Clingan, but DeAndre Ayton's still very, very young. Do you? And I know that they had hinted during the training camp and a little during preseason that maybe him stepping out and shooting some more threes is going to be maybe part of his game. Is this something you think the Blazers are trying to develop and trying to work on, and that Blazer fans maybe need to expect DA stepping out and maybe trying some more corner threes throughout the season?
I don't think they're against him trying it.
Mm-hmm.
I would personally caution against. I mean, to me, that's a player who's not a three-point shooter saying, "Oh yeah, I'm going to shoot more threes this season." That's the player version of every coach at the beginning of training camp saying, "Yeah, we want to run more, we want to push the pace." That's just kind of what right after the draft, you kind of started hearing, "Oh yeah, Donovan Clingan also is going to be shooting." I know he hit one last night too, but yeah, Donovan Clingan's shooting threes. Like he didn't shoot a lot of threes at UConn, but he's shooting threes. That's just I feel like that's just the default of something that people say to get people. Remember Nurkic was going to become a 3-point shooter for a couple months.
We talked about it. It was the worst thing that when Nurk would hit a three early. Not only did we know that more threes were going to be thrown up there, but all of a sudden, Sean, dude thought he was a stretch four, and he's doing spin moves in the lane, and it's that was the worst thing when Nurk would hit a three. You're right, because it seems to be kind of that, and I get it, right? It's a valuable asset to have, and DeAndre Ayton in a season where development is the keys. Both talking about shooting more threes, but DeAndre he put one up in a interesting spot last night.
Yeah, and I wasn't in LA, so I wouldn't have had the chance to ask Chauncey about it. But I would be interested to know what his thoughts were on that shot attempt. I think they would like. I think they're not against DA trying more threes. I don't know if that was the spot you wanted him to try one in, but yeah, I'm personally not putting a whole lot of stock in this idea that DeAndre Ayton and Donovan Clingan are going to be 3-point shooters now. I'm personally not putting a ton of stock in that, but in a season like this where it's all about development, I guess it doesn't hurt to try stuff out like that.
Sean Highkin of the Rose Garden Report, who is our Blazers insider here on 620 Rip City Radio. I don't know if I am coming at this, Sean, with a skewed perspective or if it's an actual real thing, because the bar for rookie big men with the Blazers is very, very low. And obviously the sample size is very, very small. But every time I watch Donovan Clingan play, I get more and more excited about kind of what he seems to be bringing. And I like I said, understand the bar is incredibly low for rookie Blazer centers drafted in the top 10. But as far as first week into the season, passes the eye test for me. What have you seen from Clingan early on in this season?
He's been pretty solid. He's been about as advertised in terms of I think the offense still has a long way to go. He's still kind of figuring out what his impact is going to be on that end. But defensively, he gets in, and you saw this even in that first Warriors game, which I don't think anybody was. I agree with Chauncey Billups. I don't think anybody really played well in that game. But Clingan checks in, and I think for his whole first shift, no Warriors player attempted a shot in the paint because he's one of those guys that's so big that the teams see him and they just nope, not going to drive on this possession, not going to do that. And he's kind of already like the impact that he's had on that end of the floor, and it hasn't really shown up in the box score a ton because he had one game where he had a lot of blocks, but he hasn't really been putting up crazy numbers in the minutes that he's been out there as far as blocks, but he's been in the right places. He's been rebounding. He's been setting good screens. He's been pretty much doing what they expected him to do when they drafted him. And then, the offense piece of it, I think is going to be the thing that's going to have to get figured out a little bit.
I know you tweeted about this yesterday, and it's interesting to me because, yes, we're already talking about NBA ratings this season. Never mind that we're right in the middle of football season, and there was a World Series going on, and the landscape of how we watch live sports is very, very different. So I'm wondering how accurate the actual ratings are. But here's my question with what the NBA got, Sean, in their media rights deal, which is somewhere around $77 billion, in a time where ratings were kind of going down, we're in a weird spot. Obviously, Blazer fans have all learned about how to buy a TV antenna, and regional sports networks are going away. Does ratings even really matter all that much, considering live sports is still king on TV in a streaming world? It's the only thing you have to sit through the commercials on. And even though ratings may be down, it seems to me like $77 billion, the NBA is just kind of laughing all the way to the bank on that.
My whole point with that tweet is that I don't understand why fans care about ratings.
Yeah.
Like that's like, unless you work for the league office or for one of the TV partners, I see fans talk about like, oh, this is what the NBA needs to do to, help, ratings get better because they're down. And it's like, I'm just like, why do you care? You're not seeing any of that money. You're not the one that's like salary is decided by what I don't understand. I totally get why. I'll put it this way. I totally get why a lot of fans, and I've been guilty of this in the past too, but a lot of fans like to play
media deal. So whatever they're doing seems to be working. I know that I get frustrated when Joel Embiid doesn't play opening night or when certain stars are load managing. But for whatever reason, TV networks still signing lots of big checks, Sean, to have the NBA on.
Yeah, and I mean the other thing is that everybody's solution for this is how the ratings can be improved. It's always the thing that bothers them personally. Like one of the things is Joel Embiid not playing, and then people, I saw a bunch of stuff about if they change the 3-point line so people aren't shooting as many threes, then the ratings will go up. And it's okay, and it's like, are you just using this as a way to project the thing that you personally don't like as this is what if they just do this, they'll fix all their issues.
We are unfortunately up against it, but you know what? You planted something. We may have to discuss next week, which I'm glad that you're on for many reasons, Sean, because we love having you on. We love talking Blazers and NBA with you. Yeah, this 3-point hate that is going on in the grumpy old man world that I live in, by the way. We're definitely going to talk about that next week, among many, many other things. You can follow him on social media, X or Twitter, whatever you call it, at Highkin. You can obviously see him do stuff here at Rip City Radio, at Rip City Radio 620 for game previews and wrap-ups. And, of course, you can subscribe to the Rose Garden Report as well. Hey, Sean, thanks so much. Have a great Halloween night. Have a good weekend. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, good to talk to you, Justin.
There we go. Sean Highkin, Blazers Insider here at 620 Rip City Radio. And speaking of the Blazers, next week, before we talk to Sean, on Tuesday, we're going to be giving away a pair of tickets, not here, but on Rip City Drive with Chad and Dwight. They are red hot and rolling. It is Ticket Tuesday. So join Chad and Dwight each and every Tuesday from 3 to 6 for your chance to win a pair of tickets to a Trailblazer home game. Each and every Tuesday, your chance to win. Also, single game tickets for the Trailblazers. Available at trailblazers.com. It is Trailblazer Ticket Tuesday here on Rip City Radio. RCM Mailbag next on Rip City Mornings. Hey, Cash for the Sixth Man is back. That's right. Each and every weekday here on Rip City Radio, listen for the keywords for your chance to win $1,000 between 6 a.m. and 7 p.m. on the 15. Keyword will give you a chance to pocket $1,000, not $100,000, like Sean Highkin likes as his number one candy bar, but $1,000 nonetheless. And 13 times a day. All the details are at ripcityradio.com. It is Cash for the Sixth Man. That is you. You are the sixth man. It is now time for the RCM mailbag. No cash prize at the end of this, but you know what? An awful lot of fun, and that's priceless. Let's open it up.
All right, Justin, we're going to go on a journey together for a rabbit hole that I stumbled into yesterday that talked about the highest paid actors. And something that...
Tom Cruise.
No, not right off the bat. So
Okay.
that's why I said it's going to be kind of interesting to look at this. So
Leonardo DiCaprio.
hold on.
Okay.
Some context on this. So it looks at... We have two numbers to look at. We can look at pure salary
Boom.
for an individual film, and then their total income off of residuals and box office
Oh,
numbers.
yeah. It's going to be all these superhero guys that I don't know.
Not necessarily. So I guarantee you, I'm not going to say I guarantee.
All right.
Justin, number one shocked the absolute heck out of me for a total income and total salary for one. Technically, it was films. I'll give you a hint. They were films that were shot back to back. So he got paid for both. Sequel, and then a number 3. Shot back to back.
Sequel and then a number 3.
And I was shocked. Got $156 million for 2 movies.
I have no idea who you're talking about.
Keanu Reeves.
Keanu Reeves and John Wick?
Matrix.
Oh, Matrix.
Matrix back in 2003.
Oh, we're going all the way back. I thought we were talking about like current.
No, all time. Like
All time.
yes.
So Keanu Reeves was the number
blew
one
my
all
mind.
time.
It blew my mind. Absolutely blew my mind. Because you're like, okay,
All right.
Tom Cruise got to be up here, right? Top Gun Maverick, only $100 million. I say only, but
Yeah, but I think he also is like a producer on the thing, and
stick with
but
me.
yeah,
in the-
$100
stick
million.
with me in the realm of this.
I'm with you. Yeah, the fact that Keanu Reeves and not. I mean, Matrix 2 and 3 were fine films, but nothing all that memorable. Well, we remember the red pill, blue pill, and Morpheus and all that from the original Matrix. I can't think of anything significant from Matrix 2 and 3.
Yeah, I was never super into the Matrix. I think I watched the first one.
The first one was mind blowing.
Right,
It was the
yeah.
first one was mind blowing because one, the concept of like, are we all in a simulation?
I know,
Like,
right?
did we do red pill, blue pill? And then there's the whole the dodging of the bullets thing, which was awesome. YouTube just got a nice view of me dodging the bullets on Matrix.
Classic. But yeah.
So Keanu Reeves, number one.
So
Okay. I know, like, it was a big deal. Like, Jim Carrey had, like, a huge salary when he was, like, right in the heart of it, but probably adjusted for inflation.
He got $35 million for Yes Man. 2008.
Which, I mean,
And then let's see here.
did you ever see Yes Man?
I
Not
did.
Not
Yeah.
that great.
Yeah, not that great. Again, the more thing that I was curious here is just some of the movies that you've probably never thought twice of how much money they paid.
So, like, is Robert Downey Jr. on there for, like,
Oh, we're gonna get there.
yeah, he's
I
got
have
it.
to
Because
ask you
he's,
about
of
this.
all the superhero guys,
Justin, did you-
not counting Christian Bale, Robert Downey Jr. is like the biggest star of
That is
the Marvel Cinematic Universe, right?
he is tied with Will Smith for the highest individual check
Hmm.
cut to an actor before filming.
Okay.
So Robert Downey Jr.
So I'm there.
for
What did
Captain
Will
Amer-
Smith get it?
for Captain America got $40 million before the movie even started. It turned
It
out
wasn't
to be-
even and for Captain America.
It was one of the ones Iron Man was in, but it was
I'm
a-
just saying, it's funny
Yeah.
that it wasn't even an Iron Man
It was a
movie.
pretty good one. It was a pretty good movie. One of my favorites. And then Will Smith got $40 million for King Richard, man. $40 million for King Richard.
All right,
So, and then you got
it was a good movie.
it was.
I
liked
liked
it.
King
I
Richard.
did. It was
I
a good
don't
film.
like Will Smith,
Yeah.
but
I'm like, yeah.
it was a good movie.
But like, just
I'm still not over that whole thing. Will Smith slapped a dude on live TV,
Yeah, it's
and then we
not
all just
great.
pretended like it didn't happen.
But we've determined with other things in life, Justin, if you're good at what you do, we let you off after a certain timeout. So do we let him out of a timeout at some
I
point?
guess it's one of those, like, I guess we'll move forward, but like
Never forget
never going to really look at him the same. Maybe
Right.
that's unfair on my part.
Some
but
other big checks just
he slapped a dude on the
did.
Oscars.
Some other big
Like, he
checks-
couldn't just
Yeah.
control himself on the biggest night.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Some other big ones that I just want to get your thoughts on, Justin. Do you remember The Sixth Sense with Bruce Willis?
Yeah.
He got $100 million out of that movie.
Because
And
of back end points.
Yes, and
Gotcha.
I never even heard about it or knew it existed. Like, showing my my time. I was 3, but
Yeah,
like,
dude. That was the original, like, that was the original spoiler movie.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it was still kind of internet stuff going on back then, but not like it is now. And yeah, if you didn't know, he was dead the whole time.
Another one that
It was real, like,
yeah.
it'll throw you for a loop.
Yeah, a couple more real quick, kind of rapid fire, because I want to throw off some of these numbers. Tom Hanks got $70 million from Forrest Gump, baby.
Okay, so I heard a story about this. It popped up on my TikTok. So the movie, what's it called? That they make the movies. The
distribution studio?
studio, the
Yeah,
movie
yeah.
studio. That thing, the place where they make the movies.
Yeah.
The studio was like, this is great. Forrest Gump is great, but we can't do the running across America. It's too expensive. It's going to take too much time. We can't do it.
Unfortunately, without that.
So Robert Zemeckis and Tom Hanks met, and Tom Hanks goes, "Let's just pay for it, and they can make it up for us with points."
Really?
So Tom Hanks and Robert Zemeckis paid with money out of their salary to do hey, we're shooting in Utah, we're in Santa Monica, and these were all real places
Yeah.
in the running across America, and they got points on the back end, and that's how you make $70 million.
Ooh, I never knew that. That's awesome.
Yeah, so the reason why he got so much money for that was because they didn't want to do the Forrest runs across America, and they're like, we'll pay for it.
Here, I thought it was the fruit company.
Just give us some points. God, one day I want to have that happen to me. Probably not, because I'm not a legendary acclaimed actor. But you know what? I hold out hope. That's going to do it for the big show. Thanks to Sean Hyken from the Rose Garden Report and Blazers Insider here at 620. Thanks to super producer Brendan. Thanks to all of you. Have a terrific Thursday. It's a Fancy Coffee Friday tomorrow morning. Very excited to talk to you then on 620 Rip City Radio.